Good morning, welcome to Catex TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. If you wish to follow us on Twitter, go to Catex TV. Well, here's two words you don't want to hear in a sentence again after Chernobyl, nuclear incident, and Ukraine. However, the energy minister of Ukraine said earlier today that an accident at Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia in fact posed no danger and that the plant would soon return to normal operations. However, European stock markets precipitously dipped after the announcement. The minister said that the incident, which occurred on Friday, just being announced today, was in one of the 6 blocks at the power plant, had been caused by a short circuit in the power outlet system and, quote, was in no way linked to any nuclear power production. In Vienna, the International Atomic Energy Agency had no immediate comment. Under an international agreement signed after the April 1986 Chernobyl incident, the Ukraine must notify the IAEA of any nuclear accident that can have an impact on any other country. Power crews in Detroit yesterday scrambled to turn power back on in the entire downtown area. A grid of about 100 buildings went without electricity starting at about 10:30 a.m. and lasting until about 5 p.m. in the afternoon. People were stuck in elevators, traffic signals went out, there was no power whatsoever in the downtown area. City officials blamed the utility problem on an aging infrastructure. There are 2 cable failures that led to the shutdown of the system. The utility is pouring about $200 million into the city system as it needs to take control of the grid from the public lighting department in the next 4 years. The city's mayor, Mike Dugan, said, "There's been so much neglected for so long, we have a lot to do." Bermuda-based Nephila Capital, Frank Major and Barney Schaumble's group is on the move again. They've taken a $19 million stake in Florida insurer Universal Insurance Holdings. This is going to allow Universal to further reduce its reliance on quota share reinsurance. In a statement, Universal said it had sold 1 million treasury shares at $19 each to Nephila. The insurer is going to use the proceeds to expand beyond Florida. The decision to retain more risk by ceding to Nephila has helped reduce the cost of the firm's private reinsurance from about $166 million down to $131 million. The investment in Universal is the latest by Nephila. It follows a $10 million stake it took in Heritage Insurance in Florida earlier this year. And also, they took a minority stake in Safe Point Insurance Company in Florida, and they're also believed to have backed Cypress Property and Casualty in Florida. So Frank Majors is spreading his wings in the Florida insurance market. The other day, President Putin, on his visit to Turkey, announced that he was canceling the proposed gas pipeline from Russia into Europe that was going to go through Bulgaria, citing extensive delays in dealing with the EU state, and decided instead to reward Turkish President Erdogan with the news that the gas pipeline, in fact, would go through Turkey. Well, this has caused ramifications in Europe. The German steelmaker Salzgitter said this morning that it assumed that credit insurance would cover the cost of any loss it's going to accrue from Russia's decision to change the pipeline. Salzgitter said, "We assume that a major part of the possible economic loss accruing to our company from the discontinuation of the project would be covered by the Euler Hermes credit insurance policy that we have." We'll see if that happens. There were hours of downpour, heavy rain hitting California yesterday. It brought a small dose of relief for the 3-year drought condition that exists in the state, and fortunately did not bring any of the apocalyptic mudslide incidents that commentators have been calling for, at least not yet. The heaviest torrents of rain hit Southern California. Up to 6 inches of rain was possible in some areas by the time the storm was going to end later today. Downtown Los Angeles received about 1.15 inches of rain. Santa Barbara had about 2 inches of rain. Even in San Francisco, 1.5 inches of rain hit, causing the stoppage of the historic cable cars, whose 100-year-old braking systems began to not work on the wet rails. Traffic was snarled, flights were delayed in cities around the state, but it still barely put a dent in the Sierra Nevada reservoirs and the snowpack. It's going to require an awful lot more rain, but at least it's something. Reinsurance executive Tom Wafer is going to reunite with his former colleague John Berger. Berger is running Third Point Re down in Bermuda. Wafer had been with Berger at Altera and Harbor Point, and earlier this year abandoned plans to start up his own hedge fund reinsurer Golub Re. He's going to be joining Third Point imminently and is initially going to be commuting to Bermuda from his home in the United States. Another well-known reinsurance entrepreneur, Richard Brindle, who founded Lancashire Re, looks set to secure backing from a panel of private equity firms, including Crestview Partners and Pinebrook Partners, for a reinsurer startup next year. Informal conversations only have been held to this date, but Richard Brindle apparently is on track to raise about $2.5 billion US for his return to the market after his restrictive covenant with Lancashire expires on January 1st. Well, there have been a lot of hits to the aviation market. We all know what they are. The various planes from Malaysia Air that have either disappeared or been shot down. The fighting in the Tripoli airport area that caused the destruction of a number of planes. And it seemed as if finally the syndicates that insure and underwrite airplanes were going to see some rate increases after years of decreases. That seems not to be the case. There was widespread talk of major restructuring of rates, but it hasn't happened. People have been expecting perhaps a rate increase of as high as 30%. The only one that actually did see a rate increase go up was Malaysia Air, which ended up paying a 250% increase. The Civil Aviation Administration of China just renewed its all-risk policy. This is the biggest airline contract in the world, with a double-digit rate decrease. Even the collapse of the market has caused some underwriters to be visited by brokers who had agreed to slight increase terms during the market's period of resolve and strength, indicating that they had been visited by brokers to come back, in fact, to renegotiate the terms downward. Overall, it seems as if the market is going to dip again as much as 15%. It's a little difficult to see how this is happening, although there is a plethora of money coming in and capital backing these risks, but you have to base the prices on what the actual event losses are, and this has not been a good year for aviation. Matt Bernat will be doing the news for the next 2 days. I will be back on Monday. Thank you for watching. If we have anything breaking, we'll come in and tell you. If not, we will see you tomorrow.